or online at cleveland-nissan.com. Payments are 75 months.
All right, good morning, everyone, and we are joined now by United States Senator Bill Hagerty, live from Washington. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Steve. Good to be with you.
It's great to have you on this morning. Let's just jump right in. Obviously, the headlines around the world about the situation with Russia and the Ukraine. If you would, Senator, bring us up to date on the very latest.
Well, if you step back and take a look at the big picture here, we would not be here were it not for President Biden's feckless behavior ever since he's taken office. It's just been an amazing set of circumstances where Vladimir Putin has been dealt a face card in every aspect of his game with America and the rest of the world. If you think about it, Biden comes in and wages war on the oil and gas industry, basically kills the Keystone XL pipeline, disallows fracking on federal lands, and makes it very clear that they don't want to see any funding going to that industry. The result is that oil and gas prices have gone up around the world through the roof. Take this into account. Russia is the second largest energy producer in the world. Vladimir Putin's had a huge windfall from Biden's actions in terms of the revenues that have come into his country. That's actually been fueling costs of his rampant buildup there along the Ukrainian border. If you look at our dealings with Putin, the SALT treaty that Trump had held back, trying to get a lot more of Russia concessions in that treaty before he would sign it. Biden walks in with no concessions and gave him a 5-year clean extension. Then when Russian hackers attacked the Colonial Pipeline here in America, you remember that caused a big spike in gas prices here in America. Those were Russian hackers. What did Biden do? He takes a list of 16 industries to Vladimir Putin and says, please don't attack these or there'll be consequences. Think about it, Steve. What did Vladimir Putin have in thought of maybe the 13th entry there? It was just like a hunting list for him. And what did it say about the other industries that weren't on the list? Again, a sign of weakness. Nord Stream 2 is the one that bothers me the most. We had stopped, congressional mandates had stopped production of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Biden comes in and grants Putin a waiver. This allows him to complete the pipeline, make Ukraine much less relevant, and put a chokehold on the rest of Western Europe. These are the cards that Vladimir Putin has been dealt. And then in the witness of the vacuum created by Joe Biden as he collapsed Afghanistan, as he basically surrendered us, I think what Putin saw was an administration here that was not going to be a threat whatsoever, so he stepped up. He stepped up to put pressure on the rest of the world. He stepped up to put a tremendous amount of pressure on Ukraine. And now he's got 130,000 troops amassed. And reports from NATO overnight are that he's not de-escalating, even though they were suggesting this yesterday. I think Biden has got a serious challenge on his hands. And we should have implemented sanctions months ago, not talking about what we might do in case Putin does something, but we should have been doing this earlier, demonstrating our resolve, not just American words, but resolve.
But we're joined by Senator Bill Hagerty, live from Washington. Do you see, and you're, as far as what you're hearing, and you and your Senate colleagues, is there any type of hope for a diplomatic resolution, or is this? Do you feel like the Russians are going to attack?
Well, I certainly hope that there's going to be a diplomatic resolution. Marsha Blackburn and I were on the phone yesterday with Tennesseans that are being sent over from the 101st there in Clarksville, being sent over to Poland right now. It's very hard for Joe Biden to justify putting our troops at risk to protect the border of another nation when he won't even protect our own southern border. He's created the most massive national security crisis this nation has ever seen at our southern border when he collapsed it the day he came into office. Yet he's willing to dispatch our troops over to another nation to protect them. The American public's not going to stand for this. I think there is a real risk that Putin does something, but I'm praying that a diplomatic solution will evolve.
Senator Bill Hagerty joins us. Well, Senator, you have sponsored a resolution, co-sponsored a resolution to reopen the Senate office building, United States Senate, and the United States Capitol. Tell me about that.
Well, I'm absolutely fed up with the poor example that we're setting here in Washington. This week, I was able to get more than half of the Republican Senate conference to join me. And I introduced that bill. In fact, one of my colleagues came down on the floor and joined me as well to help me introduce that bill. But we have been waiting a long time to get back to normal. Most of America has. Thanks to Operation Warp Speed, vaccines have been available for over a year to those who want them. And Americans from coast to coast have learned how to live their lives safely despite the pandemic. We've seen stores, we've seen workplaces, we've seen schools, we've basically seen the rest of the United States reopen. And it's time for the Senate to do the same. Ever since I arrived at the Senate in January of last year, the Capitol and the Senate have remained largely closed to the public. America is ready to be reopened. We should set that example right now. And my resolution basically asked the Senate if they will recognize the importance of doing that and begin to put a plan in place to do this. The answer from the Democrats was a solid no.
So the Democrats are saying no to this. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I'm going to continue to keep pressure on them to reopen the Senate. I think this is America's house. The public needs to be able to come and visit us in the house that they own, and it's just ridiculous that the United States Senate is not allowing visitors to come in on a normal basis. What I suggested is that we reopen the Senate. We may have to do it on a staged basis if they're not proper staffing yet to fully reopen it, but we need to move down the path of getting this open. Not just listen to yet another Democrat's no, listen to the science was one of the complaints that I got. Well, for some reason, the science changes at the midpoint of the Capitol because if you're in the House of Representatives, the official science says you have to wear a mask. If you're in the Senate side, beginning in the middle half of the Capitol, the science somehow changes according to the Senate doctor, and you don't have to wear a mask. So it's crazy to have this sort of back and forth politicized posture on reopening America.
Senator Bill Hagerty joins us live from the nation's capital this morning. Senator, it feels as if, and looking at announcements from around the nation, that we are turning a corner. And that's the question. Do you feel like we're turning a corner as far as this pandemic's concerned?
I certainly do feel that way, but most important, America feels that way. In every poll, Americans are feeling this. What we've seen is a sharp decline in the viruses. I think what we know is we've got an extremely high rate of vaccinations, and people who have had the disease, if you combine the two, we're at an extraordinarily high point of protection against this. It's becoming what they call endemic, meaning it's similar to any other flu that people get. We need to be very careful with it and mindful, particularly those that have not been protected in some way and that have underlying conditions. But we have to find a way to move on with our lives. The damage this is doing to our kids in particular has been enormous. The psychological damage, the damage to our economy, and the damage to America's psyche is just too great to continue this preposterous lockdown any further.
Senator Bill Hagerty, one final question, just an economic checkup overall, but your thoughts on our United States economy, but also how that affects Tennesseans.
Well, I'm very, very concerned about inflation. The latest consumer price index release that came from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed us at a 7.5% annualized rate of inflation for January. This is the highest we've seen in 40 years, Steve. And this rate of inflation has been spiked by Biden's historic spending. It's going up like a rocket. And when we see things like his war on oil and gas, that increases the cost of energy for every American here. When we have incentivized people not to work for a long time, and we give people payments for their children, it makes it easier to stay at home. And I think people have been home a very long time. We need to get folks incentivized to come back to work. Biden has been declaring victory on the economy because he's showing a low unemployment rate, but he's not taking into account all the people that have removed themselves from the workforce. We're millions of people short from the number of folks that were working in America before the pandemic. That needs to become our target. And we've got to dial down this inflation significantly. One way to do that would be to begin making oil and gas available again. We should reopen the Keystone XL pipeline. We should start back on federal lands fracking. We should get our energy independence back. That would send a strong message and get people back to work in this economy as we bring inflation down.
Senator Bill Hagerty, live from Washington. Senator, we appreciate your time very much, sir.
Always great to be with you. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Bill Hagerty, live from Washington this morning. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to come back, check our Mermaid Mattress Weather Center in about 15 seconds. Then we will bring you that full local news update. It is a very busy day in local and state news. We'll do that coming up next. So just stick in here with us. A little different schedule due to our very timely interview with Senator Hagerty just now, as you heard or saw on mixtv.tv. We'll be back in a moment.
Erlanger East Hospital now offers
Lifetime Certified is the new buzz in town for Vehicles Direct. 12-month, 12,000-mile comprehensive warranty. Lifetime powertrain warranty. Complimentary maintenance for 1 year. Certified pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Love it or leave it, satisfaction guaranteed. Best trade-in value in town. Kelly Blue Book Buy Center. Vehicles Direct.